What's up, guys? Today in this video, we're going to be looking at Cardano and its token ADA and the current price action with regards to Bitcoin's behavior. If you find this video interesting, educational, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. That way you can get um, further updates on Cardano and other cryptocurrencies in terms of technical analysis. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the charts. So if you look at Cardano from a macro level here on the weekly, you can see we're still looking relatively healthy. I mean, we are above our 5100 and 200 level moving averages, and we're still sitting fairly positive, all like decently positive from the initial surge that we saw in February. It's not like we are in a downtrend, obviously, but it's not a massive downtrend like you see here in Bitcoin, where you have a clear and obvious, collapse and downward trend of price. Here you kind of I mean, there is a small, small decrease, but it's not nearly as, you're not seeing the hump like you are in other prices for other tokens. So overall things are still looking pretty strong for Cardano. I mean, you look at the RSI here, we just broke through the 50 level on our RSI, and while you have other cryptocurrencies relative strengths in the 20s. So the relative strength of this is still solid, even though we're in this very kind of uh, bearish environment, if you want to call it that. So, in terms of a macro level standpoint, Cardano looks very, very good. Um, but let's go ahead and dive into the daily here and see what has been happening for the last couple days. Obviously, with Bitcoin going down uh, the percentage points that it did, that's going to take all the other coins with it. So you can see here we had a little surge, um, broke this level of resistance that we had drawn out. And I actually kept this resistance level here because I thought that if this does come back down, this could become a bounce back point, and that's exactly what happened here today. So Bitcoin is down 3.4% currently, and Cardano is additionally down. It's down 5% right now, but you can see here it actually bounced off of this resistance line. So that's why it's always important to have your resistance lines, support lines drawn out, because if you are trading this, you have areas where you can enter trades and make decent profits. So yeah, that's what happened. For today. The question is now: are we going to essentially continue going inside this wedge? Are we going to, bounce back and forth inside this wedge pattern? Or are we eventually going to break through the wedge and come down? Or are we going to break back out through the resistance point and and create new highs and create a reversal pattern? That's currently what is in question. Um, there's obviously a resistance line that I can actually draw out at this point that we've started to kind of generate here, and that'll be short term. So I'll kind of put this. I'll make this like a 1 point, a thin line, but we're kind of on this downward trend here for the last few days, week and a half. So we'll see if we can break this resistance line, then going forward, break this resistance line. Can we reclaim this, slight support line? There's there's a lot of levels that you have to take into account with regards to price reversal. Like, what can can you reclaim a moving average? Can you reclaim a resistance line? Can you reclaim a support line? Can you break through break through a resistance line? The Fibonacci retracement level, can we reclaim that? That'll you know that'll be that's just the waiting game in terms of investing in cryptocurrencies, and and investing in securities and other things, commodities in general. Um, what we can look at is, potential indicators such as your RSI and your stock RSI here. I mean, you look here on the daily, the stock RSI for Cardano has been sitting at a pretty low level for the last, week. We've been sitting down here almost at zero. So when you look at stock RSI, you see this is a very, volatile kind of oscillator. And whenever you get down below in this level, you eventually have to come back up and create, go back up into the higher level. That doesn't mean you're going to, start creating um, a new bullish trend, but there has to be a rebound from the decrease in this price action. Price doesn't move in straight lines; it moves in waves. So if we're going to continue this downward trend, we're going to have some bump up to the upside at some point. Now, that means we're going to either potentially hit this support line, and that's going to act as resistance, or we're going to hit this resistance line, and we're going to stay within this kind of wedge pattern. But all of this is ultimately leading up to what I potentially see happening is meeting this, this gold gold support line that I've drawn out that starts going back to when COVID happened. A lot of this happened. A lot of these support trends and positive uptrends kind of started when the COVID crash hit. And you can see here that on the weekly, the COVID crash happened, and then we came up, came back down, stopped here, and then started making new all-time highs. So that's where you have this support line drawn out. The question is, will we ever get back to this support line, or will we bounce off the 50-week SMA and create new highs? That is to be determined at this point. Obviously, in terms of the stock RSI, even on the weekly, we've been sitting below this level for a decent amount of time now, going all the way back to the beginning of June. So, almost 2 months in this, in the negative in terms of, well, not negative, but in the low numbers below our 20 mark for the stock RSI. If you want to, look at history, for stock RSI, we've sat below the 20 in late 2020 from early September to early November. So that's what, 2 months. So we basically have been under this stock RSI for almost the same amount of time that it was underneath the 20 level late last year. So if we go back even further, we were under the stock RSI in mid-July 2019 to early October 2019, which is approximately 4 months. So we've been under this level for a decent amount of time now. The question is, what is going to be the trigger to start the price action back up to the upside? Is it going to be a bounce off of this 50-week moving average, which is currently at 90 cents? Is it going to be, hitting one of these support lines? Like, will it be on the weekly? Will it be, will we wick down or come back down to this $1 level and bounce off that? Or will we come down to this 95-cent level or even this 93-cent level and bounce off that and continue making strong pushes to the upside? And then, of course, a lot of this still depends on what Bitcoin's doing. If Bitcoin starts to turn around, then obviously Cardano is going to begin turning around as well. But overall, things do look positive for Bitcoin in terms of where we're at. Like, we have, these low stock RSI levels. The relative strength index for Cardano is as low as it's been on the weekly, at least, for like over a year and a half. If we zoom out even further and go to the monthly, you can see we have these low stock RSI levels on the weekly, and our relative strength for the price on the monthly is still very good. So the price action is looking very solid. It really is. And whenever that reversal occurs, I think you'll see a strong push based on what it's been doing during this bearish environment. Um, Obviously, this isn't financial advice. I can't predict the future or anything like that. But based on indicators and the data that I go off of, things still look very good. So I will keep you guys updated with this price action and see what there is to come in the coming days, in the coming weeks. Yeah, it's coming down in terms of all cryptocurrency and the market as a whole. It's coming to a point where you know relative strength levels, uh, you know, moving averages, things like that. We're getting to a point where we have to see some sort of positive move. We've been on this downtrend for a few months now, and not saying that we're going to reverse and start making new all-time highs or anything like that, but we have to establish a low at some point, and or establish some sort of stability. So yeah, uh, thank you guys for watching, and I will keep you guys updated for the future.